Dustin Evans here with TLR, and today we're going to go about rebuilding 22 shocks. I'm going to start with the front shock. First off, I run 55 pistons. I always run 55 pistons all the way around in the 22. So I got the piston on the shock shaft. I don't use any green slime or anything. I insert the O-rings dry. So you take one black low friction O-ring, stick it in the body. Next goes the shock, or the O-ring spacer, which goes in between the O-rings. The second O-ring goes on top, and then lastly the shock top spacer goes in, and then from there we put on the shock cap, screw it on. I usually tighten it all the way down. Alright, so the next step after you got the O-rings and everything in the shock is first I take a little bit of shock oil that I'm going to be running, which is 27.5 for the front, put it over the shock shaft because I leave all the O-rings and stuff dry. Next, I put the limiting in the front, which in the 22 for the front I run 3 mil limiting, so there's one 2 mil spacer and then a 1 mil spacer. And then with oil on the shock shaft, insert it into the shock body, pull it all the way through. Next step is to grab the shock shaft, put some shock shaft pliers, and screw the shock bottom on. Now that we got the shock bottom on and the shock's all ready to go, next is to put the oil in. I use a shock, any kind of shock holder. Fill the oil just up to the top. And then from there, like some of the oil doesn't get down into the cartridge and stuff, so I pump the shock up, pull it down. You'll see some air bubbles and the level will go down. And then from there, top it back off. And then I usually let the shock sit in there until all the bubbles are gone out of the shock. You want to try to get as much of the air bubbles out as you can.
Alright, now with the new TLR bleeder cap, the first thing I do is insert the O-ring that comes with the new bleeder caps into the shock cap, just like that. And then with the bleeder screw removed, the next thing I do is put the shock cap onto the shock, just like you normally would. Tighten the shock cap all the way down. And then from here, with the shock shaft pulled out, when you filled up with oil, simply I just push the shock shaft up and the oil bleeds out the top of the bleeder screw. Push it all the way up. And then from there, I insert the bleeder screw. Tighten it down a little bit, and then what I do is pump the shock, build up some pressure, and then it'll have a little bit of rebound. And then from there, I take the bleeder screw out again, bleed the rest of the oil out, and then put the bleeder screw cap back in. And then afterwards, you'll have about 1 millimeter or 2 of rebound, which is exactly what I run. And then put your spring on, spring cup, and there's the 22 shock.